How is everyone today? You're still with us? Your feet are hurting probably a little bit, but welcome. Yes, I'm Babita from BBC World News. I've escaped the newsroom today, thankfully. Bit of a crazy day, obviously, US elections. We're going to talk about that in the course of this next presentation because what's happening in the world is very much having a direct impact on what you're going to see in our presentation over the next half an hour or so. We will open up the floor to questions as well because we want this to be as interactive as possible, and I know from previous experience that you're probably going to want to quiz our masters about some of the findings that they've been working very busy on in the last 12 months. So welcome everyone to the launch of the 11th Global Trends Report. We're going to begin now just by looking at some of the trends that came true in 2015. What will we predict next? Well, let's find out, because the main findings of the Global Trends Report for 2016 show us how in the US, co-living is emerging as a new travel segment, whilst in the UK, supersonic travel, it is back. And in Europe, micro-adventures are popular with tourists strapped for time. And in travel technology, there's a mashup of the physical and the digital. And in the Middle East, long-distance hiking trails are opening up in new areas to tourism. In Africa, traditional safari holidays are being combined with mindfulness. And in the global village, accommodation providers are offering clothing to rent or to buy. In Asia, we're also seeing a theme park boom in China. And in India, travel companies are trying to empower women by offering them the opportunity to enter the formal economy. So let's start with our global overview for 2016. The global economy continues to be somewhat uncertain in 2016 with increased terrorism threats, the US presidential elections, and of course the Brexit vote. They're all having a huge impact on global economic growth and stability. Having said that, though, travel does remain strong, with inbound arrivals reaching over 1.2 billion in 2015, which is another record year. Domestic travel, it's also performing particularly well, expected to grow to almost 10 billion trips by the end of this year. That's up 6% on last year, as consumers are enjoying their home nations, exploring it a bit more in detail, often as their first ever holiday. Now, looking at global arrivals, France, Spain and the US are all the world leaders in terms of annual visitors, each receiving more than 60 million visitors. And China is catching up with around 57 million in 2015. India, Africa and Latin America, they're all having a huge potential for future growth from a relatively low base. Now, online and mobile travel continue to expand around the world, helped by access to mobile phones and growing internet subscriptions in emerging markets. Now, as well as increased consumer confidence in mobile payments, mobile travel sales, they are stealing share from other online methods such as PCs, and mobile is expected to become the dominant online booking method by 2018. Now, let's have a look at the World Travel Market Global Trends Report in association with Euromonitor International by heading first to the Americas, where co-living is making its mark in the travel industry. Now, co-living communities, they've been around in different shapes and sizes for decades. Recently, there's been a bit of a rise in startups that offer co-living with all the mod cons targeting a younger generation that is lured by the cheaper rents in desirable locations around the world. Now, millennials who participate in the gig economy may be the typical members of these global co-living communities. They are also attractive baby boomers and single parents. More flexible jobs, the rise of solo travel and people settling down later in life, this all helps to boost co-living travel opportunities. Now, the image of co-living is truly changing due to the efforts of companies like Pure House and WeWork. Pure House is a co-living company that offers community living in New York with plans to expand to Paris. The company focuses on establishing homes where residents have a diverse, creative skill set. Now, according to their founder, Ryan Fix, their aim is to create a globalized network of locations which will be able to blend short, medium, and long-term stays in the community. And with the working population increasingly self-employed and setting up their own business, demand for co-living working spaces is high. Communal office provider WeWork is taking this step a little bit further with WeLive, a subdivision offering co-living apartments in New York and in Washington. Now, the blurring of boundaries between work and personal lives will benefit companies who can provide flexible and multi-purpose spaces for both business and leisure travelers. Startup Rome is doing exactly this by offering co-living spaces in 3 locations around the world, creating the concept of co-living nomads, or Romies as they're called, where members can live in any one of its outlets for a fee of $1,800 per month. Now, according to Bruno Haid, the co-founder of Rome, the Rome co-living community is a diverse mix, he says. From your typical late 20s millennials to sabbaticals in their late 30s, right through to baby boomers. Now, currently restricted to mainly US startups, the co-living travel concept is also catching the attention of Airbnb. Through Samara, its new design studio, the company is planning to create community centers that will host travelers with the aim of revitalizing small towns. Hotels are also likely to join in on this co-living trend, with brands like Marriott's Moxie and Hilton's True offering guests smaller rooms but spatial communal areas that encourage a more social stay. Now, let's take a look at what's happening closer to home here in the UK, where supersonic travel is back with a vengeance. Supersonic passenger air travel is back on the agenda of key market players who are determined to make it commercially viable for a wide consumer base. Now, the return of supersonic jet travel would be transformative, opening up far-flung destinations to new source markets such as Australia, the US, and Latin America. Virgin Group is one of the companies that's investing in a new startup firm called Boom. Boom is developing a new generation of supersonic jets, 2.6 times faster than normal jets. Flights from London to New York will take around 3 hours for a price tag of about $5,000 US. Now, while the first flights are likely to be on the busy transatlantic routes, there are over 500 future global routes open to supersonic travel, with trans-Pacific flights being key. Boom, we should add, is the first supersonic company to have had orders placed already, But NASA and BAE Aerospace are also working on supersonic prototypes that could even fly faster than the times that you can see there. In other efforts to improve flight experiences and without having to wait for the supersonic prototypes to go through all of their testing, private jets, they're also seeing a bit of a shake-up with development of apps enabling passengers to book empty leg flights. Jet Partner is one app offering this, a real-time online platform to find empty leg flights with fees at around about 40% less than renting the plane. The relationship between private jets and supersonic flights is growing ever closer, as illustrated by the 2015 order of 20 Ariane transonic jets by FlexJet, which is a private jet leasing company. Now let's turn our attention to Europe, where micro-adventures are creating maximum impact for busy consumers. The growing consumer interest in experiences over possessions and a growing desire to live healthily in a fast-paced society has boosted a new type of adventure travel called micro-adventures. The British explorer Alistair Humphreys coined the term micro-adventures for an outdoor adventure, small and achievable for the average consumer with real lives. Now, sometimes known as soft adventure, these types of activities tend to be low risk and are usually achievable with minimum previous experience. They also tie in with an increasing drive for healthier lifestyles. The adventure can range from a simple sleep out under the stars to a more challenging hike, cycle, swim or kayak, but tends to be minimalist in terms of gear. The cost, well, that varies too, ranging from potentially nothing for home-based adventures to more expensive activities where the added value comes from the supplier's expertise. Airlines and tour companies are embracing the concept. EasyJet has created a number of micro-adventure ideas across Europe, in and around cities like Copenhagen, Amsterdam, and Budapest and Prague. Now, adventure tour companies are also offering micro-adventures in European destinations, such as 3 or 4 travel days, hiking or kayaking, with nights spent in a local hotel. Hotels could create micro-adventures in their local area, potentially targeting business guests who stay on for that extra night to carry on the adventure. We've seen hotels and online travel agents already embracing a close retention to the micro-adventure, the male-only holiday or mancation. Can't think of anything worse. No, I'm just kidding. Let's have a look at travel technology now, where we're seeing a bit of a mix of the physical and the digital that's being used by travel companies. With global online value sales for intermediaries set to overtake offline sales, traditional travel agents need to evolve so that they don't lose out. Now, they are making the most of advanced technologies to sell their holidays, combining advice of professionals with the use of the latest in-store technological innovation. These advances all empower traditional travel agents by providing a unique service, that unique service addition, to also help them be competitive with the online travel channel. Now, this blending of the physical with the digital can be referred to as physital, a physital approach, and goes beyond the now expected online presence or mobile app. Virtual reality, we've all heard about it, haven't we? Well, it's really entering the travel arena with companies involved in hospitality, transport and tours, all using that concept to encourage customers to try before they buy. Now, according to Maurice Sim of Circos brand Karma, the use of virtual reality within the travel industry is quickly transforming from a novelty into a must-have. Thomas Cook was one of the first companies to embrace virtual reality in its concept stores, where consumers can experience their holiday resort through a Samsung headset. Its rival, Chewy, also launched its digital concept stores with interactive apps and tablet tables, as well as virtual reality goggles for destination and hotel views. Now, Stefan Aita Sabra confirmed that investments in new technologies are on the up amongst the majority of travel agents. Travelers will become increasingly accustomed to new technologies, not only virtual reality, but also chatbots and virtual assistants. They're also becoming more prevalent. Booking.com, Kayak and Expedia, for example, they've all started using chatbots that can learn what consumers like and deliver appropriate suggestions for travel products to buy. These virtual assistants, which improve their responses through artificial intelligence, have been created to optimize travel management for self-sufficient travelers and also to reduce the time that's taken for tasks such as booking or checking in. It is likely that artificial intelligence will continue to grow in the travel industry, particularly back of house, and also to replace those menial jobs where human interaction is not necessary or even desired. However, there does need to be a balance here, as travellers could feel alienated if artificial intelligence cannot do exactly what is wanted, or it takes more time than a human response. Now, let's explore the Middle East, where we're seeing that hiking trails are drawing visitors to the region. Now, while tourism in many Middle Eastern countries at present is being impacted by geopolitical conflicts and the refugee crisis, national tourism boards are looking to history to find attractions for visitors, with the development and promotion of hiking trails proving a surprising success. Key trails include the Nativity Path in Palestine, Abraham's Path from Turkey to Egypt, the Jordan Trail and Lebanon's Mountain Trail. Many of these trails are centuries old, but they are seeing a resurgence in popularity, with diaspora, religious and rural tourism all benefiting from the trend. Hiking is particularly being targeted to send out a message of peace, hope and reconciliation, whereby shrines of different religions are promoted along the trails. Now, a key benefit for rural communities is the creation of tourism in areas that have never seen visitors before, and it's particularly beneficial for women involved in providing homestays. Security, yes, it can be a concern, but local communities are committed to the growth of tourism work, and they're working hard to ensure that tourists are welcomed in a safe and secure environment. Now, looking at the visitors to these trails, well, they are mixed. Some are visiting for religious reasons, some are visiting family and friends in the region, others for a more personal journey. Religious tourism has proved to be relatively constant throughout the region and less affected by security concerns. And parts of the hardship involved in this region is to do with the hiking ties, to do with religious pilgrimages. Now, a rise in hiking pilgrims has also been seen in Europe, with traditional routes such as the Camino de Santiago in Spain being particularly popular with a variety of religious and secular pilgrims. Let's head over to Africa now, where safaris are being accompanied by mindful activities. Time. It is becoming a crucial thing in the world, isn't it? Where everything in society seems accelerated through the adoption of new innovations and technologies, and time is ever more a precious commodity. Time spent with loved ones, including oneself, was consistently ranked as the most important by respondents in Euromonitor's Global Consumer Trends Survey in 2015. Now, if you combine this with travellers' concerns with health and wellness while seeking unique and authentic experiences, Africa might have the perfect solution: mindfulness in the wilderness. Now, typical experiences include a travel safari break that's accompanied by meditation, yoga and spa services. This trend also ticks another box, as it combines well with travellers' increasing interest in sustainable holidays with a lower environmental footprint. And it also helps accommodation providers to offer luxury but lightweight service to their guests. The vast majority of mindful safaris are in South Africa and Kenya, but destinations such as Botswana and Tanzania could offer alternative attractions such as animal migration. Now, other locations and activities that could fit well with mindfulness holidays include exploring flora and fauna in South America or Canada's wilderness. Now, links with schools who are increasingly using mindfulness to assist students with their busy lives could also provide a successful future direction for these type of holidays by particularly targeting the youth markets. Now on to the global village, where accommodation providers are renting clothes to guests. They are. With the rise of the sharing economy, renting items has become much more accepted, not just in terms of a car or an apartment. Hotels are catching up to a number of trends involving pay-as-you-go convenience, excuse me, and they've also entered the sharing economy by offering clothes with their rooms. Startups, they're working with hotels to provide a selection of clothing in hotel rooms which guests can rent or buy. Startup company Unpack, for example, offers a guest the opportunity to receive a suitcase with rental clothes to be delivered right to their hotel room. Now, while these type of services are available to any hotel guests, millennials are expected to be the most enthusiastic adopters of using a clothing rental service. A distinction can be made between opportunities to rent clothes and to sell clothes. Rental services provide the possibility of accessing luxury fashion brands that are more kind of out of the price range of consumers. Now, it is likely that rental options would be more successful in mid-priced and budget hotels, as well as private rentals, whilst purchasing designer items is more suited to luxury hotels. Fashion concierges are also emerging, with, for example, Dream Downtown Hotel in New York, which is employing a stylist to fill a wardrobe full of clothes for guests to try and purchase, as well as the option of hiring a sneaker concierge. So, what will this trend hold for the future? Well, services providing clothes for frequent flyers could reduce the need for luggage and also make flights cheaper for consumers, particularly those who normally face charges for hold baggage. Now, if this trend goes mainstream, airlines may well face a decline in their ancillary revenues. This trend also offers a great potential to clothing specialists and designers being able to reach a large captive audience. With 28.5 million hotel rooms around the world, apparel players should consider investing in new distribution channel. We already see, for example, collaborations between Virgin Hotels and Gap that are trying to reap the potential from this space in the markets. Now, onwards to Asia, where we're seeing a boom in theme parks in China. According to the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, China is experiencing a theme park boom, with 59 parks planned or under construction as of the end of 2015. Now, this is largely due to the lifting of a ban on theme park approval in 2013, which enabled parks under $800 million to be approved at the provincial level, which has consequently encouraged investors. Spending at theme parks in China is predicted to reach nearly $12 billion by 2020, with visitor numbers surpassing 330 million people. 2016 has already seen the opening of Disneyland Shanghai and Nanchang Wonder City, costing $5.5 and $3 billion respectively. Disney is not the only international player taking note of this trend. John Duffy, President and CEO of Six Flags Entertainment, recently said that the platform for growth in Chongqing is great and the perfect formula for the industry, with Six Flags planning to open a park in 2019. Local players are not resting on their laurels either. Local theme parks tend to be a little different from the international giants that we all know so well. Most importantly, local theme parks tend to operate a mixed tourism and property business model with revenues from hotels, shops and apartments often more profitable than ticket sales. Now, this mix of shopping and attractions is a hugely attractive combination for a wide range of nationalities and ages. This is why one of the main players, Wonder Group, is taking the bold step of launching Europa City. It's a $3 billion project that's incorporating a theme park and shopping mall 10 kilometers just outside of Paris. Now, last but not least, let's have a look at India, where travel and tourism is empowering women and enabling them to enter formal employment. India has recently dealt with a number of negative, high-profile crimes against women, both tourists and locals. Yet tourism is shaping up as a force for good and is helping to empower women by providing unique employment opportunities. Tourism is often seen as an ideal entry point for women here in India to join the formal economy by providing access to opportunities and improving the quality of life. A growing number of companies such as taxis and tour providers are offering women-only services or employing women in roles that were previously largely undertaken by men. Transport companies in India are tackling the issue of safety head-on with the emergence of female-only taxi services. She Taxi is a taxi firm operating in Kerala that's providing a traditional taxi service for women only with a trained female driver. Women on Wheels, that's another project, helping women to become professional drivers, enabling them to become the family's breadwinner, as well as marketing to solo female travelers. Now, according to Ankita Chef, tourism remains a male-dominated sector in India, but there are growing opportunities for women now. The drive from entrepreneurship among women is a priority for the Indian government, with the Stand Up India initiative providing loans for women to help create their own businesses, and apps like RideSafe, which are helping to improve the safety and the independence of women. In India, metropolitan women are leading the way into employment with greater access to education and the need to cope with the higher cost of city living. Average disposable incomes for women in India are set to double in the next 15 years, from $850 to closer to around $1,800. Rural tourism in India can be particularly empowering for women as it has the potential to diversify employment opportunities. And that can also be adapted to suit local assets and the needs of the community. And what better way, on that positive note, to end our report for you this year and, of course, move onwards to 2017 and the year of sustainable tourism development. We hope that you have enjoyed the latest insights from the Global Trends Report brought to you by WTM and Euromonitor International. Look at those beautiful people on your screen. Aren't they wonderful? They are the people that have been working very hard in the last 12 months to put the report together. I should just say we're going to invite them on stage. Well, why don't we do that now? Caroline, Nadia and Vota, would you like to come on stage? Give them a round of applause, everyone. As they get comfortable, I should just say that a copy of the report is available when you leave here after this short question and answer session. And we are going to open it up to the floor because we'd love to get as much from you as possible to make this interactive, to quiz our panel of masters that I'm going to call you. And I'm going to start the questioning because one that's in my mind when I go back to the newsroom in 2 hours' time is what kind of impact does Brexit or a Trump win? Let's take a vote. Trump, is he going to do it? You're on your own, mate. There, okay. Well, always on your own. That's what Trump says, I think. What kind of impact does a Trump win or a Clinton win the elections in the US have on the travel industry? Caroline?
Well, basically, we have a macroeconomic model at Euromonitor, and we've created a scenario called the Trump downturn. So this is the least likely probability, but You know, the status...
You mean in terms of him winning?
Yeah,
or, right, okay.
In terms of winning. But you never know. As we saw with Brexit, you know, the unexpected can happen, and political shock could be, you know, we may hear about it tomorrow. But our downturn predicts that the US wouldn't fall into recession, but it would definitely be a drag on growth because of the policies in terms of trade, immigration. And so what you're likely to see is the US economy slowing down and be reduced by around about 4 or 5% over the next 5 years. Now, currently the US's top inbound source market is Canada, but they're predicting that Mexico is actually going to overtake Canada to be the #1 source market for the US. If Trump were to get in, then obviously that potential is not going to exist because of all the immigration policies.
He's going to build a wall, yeah.
He's going to build the wall, possibly. So again, it's highly uncertain what's going to happen, but if Hillary were to win tomorrow, then it's more likely that the status quo will continue. The great work that Barack Obama has done in terms of creating Brand USA, you know, and that as he's been quite pro-tourism, which has worked well for the US as a destination.
Yeah, you see the market volatility at the moment, depending on what the polls say about that. But Brexit as well, and to all three of you, what kind of impact has Brexit had on the travel industry and the way things are done in terms of what's to come?
Well, I think obviously on the macroeconomic level, it's still very highly uncertain what's going to happen. We have two different scenarios at Euromonitor. We have one, there's a no Brexit scenario, and two, there's a disorderly Brexit scenario. And that's more akin to the hard Brexit. So if we move to a hard Brexit, so Article 50 is triggered, after 2 years, nothing is set in stone with Europe. We don't have access to the open skies with Europe or the US. Then obviously trading is going to be more difficult, and it may take a while to set up a trade deal with the Eurozone, equally bilaterally with all different nations. So under that circumstance, we expect that, yes, in the short term, there's the uplift in terms of inbound demand because of the weak pound. And already we've seen that in August we had a record year in the UK. You know, visitors up by 4%, spending up by 2% year on year. But it could be short-lived, if you like, because if the policies aren't in place for tourism, you know, pro-tourism, then mid to long term, that will act as a drag on performance. So our hard Brexit scenario suggests there could be 2 million less potential visitors if it's a hard Brexit.
Should we just all go into a bit of a hole and stay there, maybe, perhaps? I want to open up the questions to the floor about some of the things that you saw in the report there, the very detailed report. Lots of interesting trends. We've got 2 roving microphones on either side, so if you just stick your hand up if you've got any questions about anything you've seen there. Gentleman just over there at the back. We'll just get a microphone to you. If you could just say your name and where you're from, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you. Derek Robbins from Bournemouth University. I was very interested in the trend you were talking about, supersonic travel, and particularly when you were identifying next year as the year of sustainable development and tourism. Is that not flying in the face of, quite frankly, recent global trends, Paris Agreement and the like? Is it that likely to happen?
Is it likely to happen, Nadia?
Well, it's definitely a very fair point. Definitely a very fair point, and I think I would agree with you. With the decommissioning of Concorde, I think the airline industry definitely learned its lesson, and what they're doing at the moment, the likes of NASA, Airbus, Lockheed Martin, just to name a few, Virgin Atlantic, as we gave as an example, they have been very proactive and working into the production of aircrafts that are eco-friendly. What I mean by that is producing engines that are burning less fuel. They're using materials that are not platinum or any of those that could impact the environment. At the same time, they're working very much in partnership with MIT and General Electric to identify what's the impact on the environment, especially on the high altitude emissions. So what that, as I said, it's a very fair point, but they're cooperating and trying to understand the impact and how they can prevent that. At the same time, working for the profitability of the airlines and making sure that before the model that Concorde has introduced was entirely very costly, and one of the reasons why it was, buried, if you want. So building bigger aircrafts, but that they are not polluting the environment. So it's again something that we're going to see, but the fact that the big players are on that and are working very intensely on this is going to show that there would be an improvement into the practices. And of course, one thing that we should not forget is that they cannot move anywhere without applying the CO2 requirement from the ICAO that has been put forward for the promotion for the emissions.
Yeah, it almost sounds like a contradiction in terms, doesn't it, really? But there's always got to be a profit margin, I'm sure. Any other questions, please? Raise your hand if... Hi there. We'll just grab a microphone to the gentleman in the centre. I also want to, if I get a chance, to ask about mancations. I want to know all about mancations. Hi.
Hello, I'm David from Hostmaker. My question was also about this supersonic jet influence. Are you discounting the rise of the Hyperloop, or are you thinking that it's not going to be a real competitor for a supersonic jet?
The rise of Hypermove, did you say?
Hyperloop.
Hyperloop.
Elon Musk's Hyperloop.
Yeah, I think... Is my microphone working?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we're obviously trying to look at trends that are in the future, but not too far in the future. And even supersonic jets might not come in, like we're not all flying in supersonic jets next year. But I think the Hyperloop is still a little bit further away, possibly, although Elon Musk is investing a lot of money in it, so it might overtake it. And I don't think we're discounting it at all, and it would be great to see. And I think we've already seen some plans by Dubai, for example, looking into how to improve transportation between different cities in the UAE. So definitely not discounting it, but I think it's at the moment we see that as maybe next year in the report we'll have the Hyperloop.
Renting and selling your clothes in a hotel that you can just phone up and get your wardrobe there. Really?
Yeah, why not?
But it's going to catch on, do you think?
I think it's something that it's not going to be a main draw for hotels, and they're not going to throw all their eggs in that basket. But I think it's something that hotels are looking at what's happening in the market, and more that's being... well, there's a lot of things going on around Airbnb, of course, and other short-term rental players. So they're looking at how can we diversify what we're offering. They're looking at what do people like about Airbnb and their competitors. So,
but you don't go to an Airbnb and try on their clothes, do you?
No, but you can.
I mean, you can, but you're not probably supposed to.
Unpack provides services to hotels as well as Airbnb hosts. So,
right.
In that sense, of course, it's not like that. But I think I don't see this becoming a major thing. But I think it's a very interesting development that we can see that hotels are looking at ways of diversifying their products, ensuring that they stay with the current trends. And at the moment, we have lots of apps where you can provide information like, I want an extra pillow. So it's not too far-fetched to then think, okay, maybe people can put in, if they like, of course, put in their measurements and their clothing style. And why not then provide a closet with clothes for them? So, and I think for designers and for so not necessarily people in the travel industry, but for designers, for fashion labels, for brands, it will be a very interesting new way of distributing your clothes. As you can see in the presentation, there's less than 4 million clothing outlets in the world, but there's over 28 million hotel rooms. So
yeah, incredible growth
exactly.
opportunity
Yeah,
there.
of course. Yeah.
Did you want to add?
Babita, you travel a lot for work. Do you not think it would be quite useful for you to travel baggage-free?
Yeah, but I think absolutely, actually, yeah, it'd be fantastic. But then what if you don't like the clothes that they give you?
But then you would say, well, these are my preferred designers. and you would have that element of choice. I think it's choice and convenience. And
but there's something quite nice about having your own stuff with you.
Yeah.
Maybe. But maybe I'm old-fashioned, I don't know.
I think a lot of people, when you think about flying, what is the worst part about flying? For most people, it would be luggage.
The BBC buying you an economy ticket.
Okay, for
Sorry,
you it might be
luggage,
different.
and luggage,
exactly.
and luggage. No, yeah, absolutely. It's the packing and the hassle of all of that, especially if you're a regular traveller.
And not knowing where your luggage is while you're on the plane, and having to pack certain things but not being able to take other things in your hand luggage. There's lots of hassle around.
Absolutely. Raise your hand if you have a question, please. Hi, just the lady in the front here.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Yasodhara and I'm a travel consultant in Sri Lanka. And my question is, the micro-adventure tourism in Europe, is that a short-haul thing or can it be a long-haul thing as well?
Short haul or long haul for the micro-adventures?
It's definitely, it's a global thing. So basically what you have is that for, adventure travel is not a new thing. It's been very popular for the past 3 or 4 decades. But what you're now seeing is people's time is more restricted. So the micro-adventure, you can do it in a couple of hours, or it can be a day, and it's an add-on, and it's a really useful way to get an insight into an experience or an activity, and then afterwards you can then either choose that specific type of product as a holiday. So it gives you almost a try before you buy, like the full package. So it's something that can be adopted by any destination. And obviously Sri Lanka would be fantastic with all the different attractions that you have, nature, trekking, whale watching, whatever.
So you could actually try a few adventures in one holiday,
so
rather than like
exactly.
going on one surfing holiday.
Yes.
You could try multiple things.
And I think it's as Wouter and Babita said in the presentation, that it's about, it can be provided by a specialist tour operator, or it could be provided also by hotels or local destinations, or even the recommendation. We know that there are lots of apps nowadays. We've got Viator, we've got Viable, all these guys offering the in-destination trips. And that's a huge opportunity for the travel industry. We know that many of the global players are looking at that in-trip experience, and the fact when you have a mobile smartphone, you can be sold anything anywhere. And so this continuation, the personalization of that experience when you're in the destination.
It's interesting. It's almost like going back to basics, because you go to somewhere like Bhutan. I was there this year, and because they don't have mass choice or all that technology going on, you do have a micro adventure there. It is kind of created and tailored for you, and you get that choice of everything when you get there. So it's almost like the market's become saturated and you're going back perhaps. But any other questions, please? Hi, we'll just grab a microphone to you. Gentleman just behind that cameraman there.
Hi, I'm Peter Jordan from Toposophy. You mentioned about artificial intelligence and the fact that travellers are going to be among the first groups of people to be working with it and to learn how to use it. Have you noticed any sort of threshold where people actually, it irritates them and they abandon it? Because you talked about the risk of alienating people. I wonder whether you've spotted any trends or you've had any feedback from the people you work with about that.
Yeah, I think there's... I recently saw a report by Travel Zoo, which has done some very interesting research, not necessarily about artificial intelligence, but or not just about artificial intelligence, also about just robots and the use of robotics in travel. And it's very interesting. I think you can see from the way that travel players are introducing these new innovations, robots, artificial intelligence, and how, I wouldn't say slow, but they're quite careful with it, because I think there is a way of, on the one hand, travel is about experiences and meeting people and having that interaction. So making sure that you put it at the right place. And also there's a trust issue where, when I go back to the Travel Zoo research, you could see that people wouldn't like robotic air stewardesses, for example. Which I can imagine, because if my plane goes down, I don't want to be told by a robot what to do. So, but then when it's back of house in a hotel and you're checking in or something, that's fine. So obviously companies need to look at where can we provide it and where does it actually make sense and make it better for the service. And I think in hotels you can see that it doesn't necessarily replace people just yet, because I think what's happening is that robots and artificial intelligence can help with checking in people, but then that doesn't mean that we get rid of the reception desk. It just means that the reception desk can do other things that need more of a human touch and more of human interaction.
Have you tried it? Have you ever been privy to that? It's a bit scary. We do it in journalism, and it's becoming all the rage with the virtual reality. I think it's going to be here for quite some time.
Also, I think it's quite important to mention the importance of the big data and the fact that at the moment what we're seeing in travel is that the power is in the consumer. So this is where the interaction with the consumer, the feedback, and the big data analysis comes to place, where you have better understanding what the individual customer wants. And if that particular person feels that when he goes to the airport, the check-in process is one that really affects the whole passenger journey, then of course you would be using the intelligence or the robots that could help facilitate the whole process. So I think this is where we're talking about the role of the personalization and the individual customer understanding of their preferences and how they want to visualize or how they want to experience the whole passenger journey. And when I say passenger journey, it doesn't mean that from the moment that you're at the airport. It's just from the moment you start thinking about your holiday, you arrive at the airport, your experience there on the plane, and when you're at the destination. So the whole process is captured by this big data and their understanding about it.
I was just going to sort of mention sort of caveat. You know, moving to AI and artificial intelligence and robots and automation, we have to be very careful in the travel industry, because ultimately, you know, currently we account for 1 in 11 jobs globally, and you know, it's a high employment generating industry, and that's why it gets so much attention with government. So we have to be able to balance that with, you know, new technology, so that that it can create those opportunities.
Yeah. Very quickly, mancation. Growing trend for the future.
You're against it?
I'm not against it. I'm intrigued by it.
Well, I mean, it's something that I guess stag do's here in the UK are quite popular, and golfing trips and with your buddies, and it's something I guess.
But that is interesting, because you mentioned two things there. You know, the stag do's are specific to an event, and the golf is about sport.
Yeah,
but mancation, we're talking about generally that being a type of holiday now.
I think they would still be a lot of the times it's still around a certain event. But the thing is, when you look at travel, women tend to travel more together than just men, and I think that's something what obviously hotels and tour operators have seen a gap in the market, and they've thought, okay, how can we boost men traveling together rather than couples, women alone? Like let's have a look at the men and make sure that they also, that we provide services for them as well.
Interesting. Thank you to all three of you very much. I wonder if we can just pull up the last slide that we had on the presentation, because that has the details of Caroline, Nadia and Wouter's email addresses. If not, they'll be on the travel report for you, which you can get on your way out. Just in case you're interested, about 3 percentage points in it between Trump and Clinton. I'll let you decide which one's which. Thank you so much for your time, and look forward to seeing you again next year.